Beloved child of the Most High, be still. Archangel Michael is here. Do not move from this place. Do not scroll past these words. This second, this exact heartbeat, was chosen for you. Long before your eyes found this message, the throne room of heaven echoed with your name. I did not come to bring you noise. I came to bring you something your spirit has been starving for. And if you stay, if you give me these next minutes without rushing, what arrives will touch parts of you that no human hand has ever been able to reach. I know what brought you here today. You did not stumble into this moment the way you stumble into ordinary things. Something pulled you. Something deeper than curiosity, deeper than habit. There was a whisper you could not quite hear, a stirring in a place you cannot name, and you followed it. That whisper was mine. I have been calling your name across the spiritual realm for days, waiting for the exact moment your heart would be still enough to receive what I carry. The Father sent me with specific instructions, not general words for a crowd. Specific medicine for your wound. He told me where you have been bleeding. He showed me the room where you go when nobody's watching, the place inside your chest where the ache lives. He described to me the exact shape of the heaviness that sits across your shoulders every single morning, the one you have learned to carry so well that most people never even notice it is there. Today, everything about that changes. But I need something from you first. I need you to stop performing. Stop being brave. Stop pretending that the weight is manageable. You have been holding yourself together with nothing but willpower and habit for so long that your soul has forgotten what it feels like to be genuinely held. I am here to remind you, not with a sermon, not with a list of rules, but with the very presence of the Almighty, flowing through every syllable I speak into your ears right now. Can you feel that? That faint shift in the atmosphere around you, as though the air itself just became a little warmer, a little heavier with something sacred. That is not your imagination. The glory of the Father travels on the sound of his messenger's voice, and right now, it is settling into the room where you sit, into the seat beneath you, into the skin on the back of your hands, into the tired muscles around your eyes that have worked so hard to keep tears from falling. Let them fall. If they are rising, let them come. Tears shed in the presence of an archangel are never wasted. They are collected. They are counted. Every single one becomes a prayer that the Father holds against his own heart. And today, he is answering the prayers you cried when you thought heaven was too far away to hear. I see you. Not the version of you that walks into rooms with a rehearsed smile. Not the one who tells everyone that things are fine. I see the real you. The one who lies awake in the small hours with a chest full of questions and a mind that will not quiet down. The one who has prayed with such desperation that the words ran out and all that remained was a raw sound. A groan that only heaven could interpret. If that is you, if those words just landed somewhere deep in your spirit, then type the word Amen in the comments right now. That single word is not just a response. It is a signal to the spiritual realm that you are here, that your heart is open, and that today, you are ready to receive what the Father has been holding for you since before you drew your first breath. I want to tell you something that will change the way you see yourself. You have been walking through a season that was designed to break you, and you are still here. Do you understand the magnitude of that? Storms came that would have destroyed lesser spirits. Betrayals landed that should have made your heart permanently cold. Losses accumulated until the grief became a second skin you could not peel off. And yet, here you sit, listening, breathing, still reaching for the divine. The Father noticed. He does not overlook endurance. He does not forget faithfulness that persists when every reason to stop has already arrived. Your survival was never an accident. It was evidence. Proof that a hand far stronger than your own was underneath you the entire time, catching you in falls that you did not even realize were happening. Nights when you went to sleep carrying burdens that should have crushed you. You woke up the next morning still breathing because my wings were spread over your bed. When the doctor spoke words that made the room spin. When the phone call came that rearranged your entire future in 30 seconds. When the person you trusted most looked you in the eye and walked away. I was the unseen wall between you and total destruction. The Father told me to make sure you understand this today. You were never abandoned. You were carried. The silence you interpreted as heaven turning its back was actually heaven holding its breath, waiting for this precise moment to unleash everything that was being stored for you in the realm you cannot see with natural eyes. That realm is stirring right now. As you listen to my voice, as these words penetrate the fortress you built around your emotions, angelic forces are being dispatched with assignments that bear your name, not figuratively. Your actual name is written on scrolls that are being unsealed in the courts of heaven at this very second. The decree the Father signed over your life is being carried by warrior spirits who will not rest until it reaches your doorstep. And here you are. Still breathing and still open. Still listening to a message that found you at the exact moment you needed it most. The gratitude that rises in your chest right now. That warm wave you feel building behind your ribs. That is not coming from you. That is the Father's own joy at seeing his child finally in position to receive. Let me take you deeper. There is a wound inside you that you stopped talking about a long time ago. Not because it healed, but because nobody seemed to understand it. You tried to explain it once, maybe twice, and the blank stares told you that this particular pain belonged to you alone. So you folded it up and tucked it somewhere behind your daily responsibilities, and you told yourself you would deal with it later. Later turned into months. Months became years. And that wound grew roots in the dark, feeding on every disappointment, every sleepless night, every moment when happiness showed up for other people but seemed to skip right over you. I know about that wound. The Father showed it to me in detail so vivid that even an archangel wept. He described to me how it started, the moment it was inflicted, the person or circumstance that delivered the blow. He showed me how you tried to treat it yourself, pouring human remedies onto a spiritual injury, seeking comfort in places that could never reach the depth of what was damaged. And he told me something that stopped me in my tracks. He said, "Tell my child that I never looked away. Tell them that every night they cried alone. I was closer than the pillow beneath their head. Tell them that the healing I prepared for this exact wound has been ready since before the wound was inflicted." That is not poetry. That is a divine fact. The medicine arrived before the sickness. The answer was crafted before the question formed on your lips. The restoration was designed before the loss ever occurred. That is how far ahead the Father works. That is how deeply he knows the timeline of your life. Nothing that happened to you caught him off guard. Not the setback, not the diagnosis, not the departure of someone you thought would stay forever. Every one of those events was seen, and for every one of them, a precise remedy already existed in the storeroom of heaven. Today, Archangel Michael is unlocking that storeroom, not partially, not one shelf at a time. The entire reserve that was set aside for you is being released in this very hour. The remedy for the loneliness, the cure for the recurring thoughts that tell you that you are not enough, the antidote for the bitterness that formed when people who were supposed to protect you chose to wound you instead. All of it is pouring through the spiritual atmosphere right now, seeking the exact coordinates of your heart. I need you to understand what makes this kind of restoration different from anything you have tried before. Human comfort operates on the surface. A kind word touches the outer layer. A good day gives the top of your spirit a brief rest. But the healing that flows from the throne of the Almighty operates on a level so deep that it reaches the very foundation of who you are It goes to the place where your identity was formed, where your sense of worth took shape, where the original blueprint of your purpose was written. And it does not patch the damage. It replaces the damaged foundation entirely with something that can never be cracked again. Think about that. Not a repair job. A complete rebuild from the ground up. Every lie that attached itself to your self-image, stripped away. Every false belief about your value that was planted by rejection or criticism, uprooted. Every distorted mirror that taught you to see yourself as less than what the Father created, shattered, and replaced with the reflection He has always seen when He looks at you. And what does He see? He sees a warrior who kept fighting when every supply line was cut. He sees a heart that kept loving even after love was used as a weapon against it. He sees a spirit that refused to become bitter even when bitterness would have been the easiest and most understandable response. He sees royal blood running through veins that the world tried to convince you were ordinary. He sees a crown that was knocked sideways by the storms, but never knocked off. That is what the Father sees. And today, He has sent His chief messenger to declare it over you so loudly that the spiritual realm shakes with the force of the announcement. You are not damaged goods. You are not a lost cause. You are not the sum of your worst moments. You are a divine investment that is about to yield a return so massive that the very forces of darkness will stagger backward in disbelief. Say these words out loud right now. Let them vibrate through the room where you sit. Say, I receive the healing that was prepared for me. I am not broken beyond repair. I am being rebuilt by the hand of the Most High. Say it, mean it, and then keep listening, because what comes next will reach even deeper. The Father wants me to address something you have been carrying that you never put into words. There is a tiredness inside you that goes beyond physical exhaustion. It is a weariness of the spirit, a fatigue that sleep cannot touch. You wake up in the morning already tired, not because your body failed to rest, but because your soul spent the night wrestling with burdens that belong in heavenly hands, not human ones. You have been holding responsibilities that were never assigned to you, worrying about outcomes that were never yours to control, rehearsing conversations that already happened and rewriting them in your mind as if you could change the results, carrying the emotional weight of people who never asked you to carry it, and feeling guilty on the days when you secretly wanted to set it all down. The Father says, set it down now, not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, not when you feel strong enough to manage the transition. Right now, in this moment, as my voice moves through you, release the grip your mind has on every burden that does not have your name stamped on it by divine authority. The worries about your children, hand them to the Father. The anxiety about your finances, place it at the foot of the cross. The fear that something terrible is waiting around the next corner, give it to me. I will carry it into the throne room myself and lay it before the one who already knows every corner, every turn, every outcome, and who has already prepared safe passage through every single one. This is what the Father does. He does not just patch the wound and send you back into the fight. He reaches into the cause of the wound and dismantles the machinery that produced the pain in the first place. Think about what that means for you personally. That recurring heartbreak, the one that seems to follow you from season to season. There is a root underneath it that human counseling and willpower have never been able to reach. But the hand of the Almighty operates beneath the level of human understanding. It grips the root at a depth no therapist can access. No medication can numb, and no amount of positive thinking can override. And when He pulls that root out, the cycle does not just pause, it ends. How many cycles have you been trapped in? How many times have you thought the storm was over only to see the clouds gather again within weeks? How many times did hope arrive, only to be snatched away before it could fully form? The Father showed me the pattern in your life, and I need you to hear this clearly. The repetition was not your fault. It was not because you lacked faith. It was not because you made wrong decisions. There was a spiritual mechanism operating beneath the surface of your circumstances. A system of sabotage engineered by forces that recognized your potential and were terrified of what would happen if you ever fully stepped into it. Today, that mechanism is being dismantled, not gradually, not one gear at a time. The entire apparatus that has been recycling your pain, replaying your defeats, and redirecting your blessings into dead-end detours is being ripped apart by the same power that spoke the universe into existence. You do not have to fight this battle yourself. You do not even have to understand exactly what was happening. All you have to do is stay in this moment. Let these words do their work, and trust that the one who sent me operates with a precision that makes the most complex human machinery look like a child's toy. Something is shifting in the invisible realm right now as you absorb these truths. I need you to pay attention to the next sentence, because it contains the first part of a revelation that will unfold across the remainder of this message. The reason your breakthrough has taken so long is not that the Father was slow to act. It is that the blessing He prepared for you is so large that it required an extended season of preparation, not just in your circumstances, but inside your very spirit. A small vessel cannot hold a massive blessing without shattering. He has been expanding you through every trial, every tear, every night of waiting, so that when the fullness of what He stored for you finally arrives, you will have the capacity to hold it without breaking apart. That expansion is nearly complete. The final stretch of widening is happening right now. In this very conversation between an archangel and the child, the Father refused to let fall. Can you feel the stretching? It may have felt like pain over these past weeks and months, but what you interpreted as breaking was actually growing. What you thought was destruction was actually construction. The architect of your future was clearing old foundations and laying new ones that are strong enough to support a structure so magnificent that even the angels in the highest courts of heaven have paused to watch its unveiling. Now, I want to speak directly to those of you who know someone else, right now. Someone whose face appeared in your mind as you listened to these words. Someone who is carrying the same invisible weight. Someone who smiles in public but weeps in private. Someone whose strength has been admired by everyone who watches, but whose exhaustion has been noticed by almost nobody. I want you to think of at least 3 people who fit that description. Picture their faces. Say their names quietly in your heart. And then, send this message to them today. Share it in your family group chat. Post it in your church WhatsApp group. Send it as a direct text to that one friend who has not been herself lately. This is not a casual request. This is a divine assignment. The same hand that guided you to this message is now asking you to become the bridge that guides someone else to the healing they did not know was waiting for them. The assignment I just gave you is not small. Carrying a message of this magnitude to someone else is an act of warfare in the spiritual realm. Every time a soul receives a word that was meant for them, every time healing reaches a heart that was ready to give up, a tremor moves through the kingdom of darkness. The enemy hates when the children of God share what they receive. He works overtime to convince you that your words do not matter, that your influence is too small, that the person you are thinking of would not listen anyway. Those are lies designed to prevent the multiplication of the very breakthrough that is being released into your life right now. When you share what the Father gave you, the blessing does not divide, it multiplies. What flows through you on its way to someone else leaves a residue of glory on your own spirit that cannot be wiped away. And I want you to hear something the Father whispered to me as I watched you listening to these words. He said, "My child does not know what is about to happen. They do not know that the very act of staying this long, of absorbing this deeply, of refusing to scroll away when so many others did has qualified them for something that was waiting behind a door that only opens for those who linger in my presence long enough for the transformation to complete. That door is in front of you right now. The fact that you are still here, still breathing in these words, still open, tells me that your spirit recognizes the frequency of what is being released, and what comes next will confirm that recognition in a way that removes every remaining doubt. Now come back to your own spirit. Come back to the place where the warmth is building. The message you just committed to sharing is the same message that is about to go even deeper inside your own heart. And what comes next requires your full attention. Do not let your mind wander. Do not check the time. Do not glance at the notification that just appeared on your screen. What I am about to reveal has been sealed since before the foundations of the earth, and it is being unsealed in your hearing today for a reason that will become clear within the next few minutes. Now, lean in. What I am about to reveal has been sealed since before the foundations of the earth. I told you moments ago that the Father has been expanding you, preparing you, widening the walls of your inner vessel so it could hold what is coming. But there is a second reason the breakthrough was delayed, and this is the part that most people never hear. There were forces positioned directly in the path between you and your blessing. Not abstract forces, not metaphorical obstacles. Real entities in the spiritual dimension whose entire assignment was to delay the delivery of what the Father released for you a long time ago. Picture this. The Father spoke a word over your life, a word of provision, a word of restoration, a word of reversal for every unjust thing that was done to you. That word left the throne room immediately. It was dispatched the moment the Father spoke it. But between the throne room and your doorstep, there is territory, spiritual territory. And in that territory, agents of the enemy had set up barriers, not because they were stronger than the Word. Nothing is stronger than the Word of God, but because they had legal access to delay it, access that came from old wounds, from inherited patterns of defeat, from words spoken over you by people who did not understand the spiritual weight of their language, and from agreements you made in moments of despair when you said things like, "Nothing ever works out for me," or "God must have forgotten about me." Every one of those agreements gave the enemy a foothold, a legal right to slow down what was already in motion. And you had no idea. You thought the problem was your circumstances. You thought the delay was about timing or worthiness. But the truth is far more targeted than that. You were under a coordinated campaign of spiritual obstruction, forces that recognized the magnitude of what was headed your way, and threw everything they had at you to make sure it never arrived. But here's what they miscalculated. They thought the delay would break you. They thought the waiting would drain your faith completely. They thought the pain of unfulfilled promise would eventually cause you to turn your back on the Father and walk away. But you didn't. You stayed. You kept praying even when the prayers felt like they were hitting a ceiling. You kept believing even when the evidence of your natural eyes contradicted everything your spirit was telling you. And that endurance, that stubborn, unreasonable, beautiful refusal to quit, has done something in the spiritual realm that cannot be undone. It revoked the legal access. Every foothold the enemy held has been dissolved by the sheer persistence of your faith. The barriers are gone. The territory between the throne room and your life has been cleared. And the word the Father spoke over you, the provision, the healing, the restoration, is now moving toward you at a speed that the enemy cannot match and cannot intercept. And this is why I need you to understand the nature of this channel. What reaches you here is not content produced by human ambition. These are commissioned dispatches from the throne room, timed to arrive exactly when the spiritual conditions are right. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now. Press that subscribe button and activate every notification. Your spirit recognizes what your mind is only beginning to grasp, that this is a supply line built by the Father for the season you are walking through. Every new message adds another layer of protection. Every dispatch carries the frequency of heaven's authority into your atmosphere. Do not walk away from this lifeline. This is the moment your spirit has been reaching toward since before you understood what you were reaching for. The chains are breaking, the obstructions are crumbling, the path is clear, and the next few minutes of this message carry the specific frequency that completes the work. Stay. Do not leave. What is arriving will change not just your day, but the trajectory of your entire remaining life. Breathe deeply. Open your hands, and let the Father do what only He can do. Something profound has shifted inside you as those truths settled into your spirit. Can you feel it? That lightness in your chest where the heaviness used to sit. That quiet where the chaos used to be loudest. This is not a temporary feeling. This is the presence of the living God rearranging the architecture of your inner world. And this kind of divine work does not happen in isolation. It happens in community. It grows stronger when believers stand together, pray together, lift one another in seasons of waiting and walking and believing for what has not yet appeared. That is exactly why the family behind this message exists. When you visit the link in the description or the pinned comment, you are not clicking on an ordinary page. You are stepping into a sanctuary built by believers who carry the same fire. Whether you support the mission with a donation, join as a member of the community, or simply arrive with an open heart and add your voice to the daily prayers and discussions, you become part of something the Father is using to reach the very people He refused to abandon. Every seed planted there grows into a torch in someone else's darkness. Every prayer posted on that wall carries weight in the courts of heaven. This is your invitation, not to watch from a distance, but to stand shoulder to shoulder with a family that speaks the language your spirit has been longing to hear. Now, carry this warmth with you as I take you deeper, because the revelation is not finished. What I have spoken so far was the first layer. What comes next reaches into territory that will require every ounce of the courage the Father has been building inside you. I told you that forces were positioned against you. I told you that barriers were set up to delay your breakthrough. Now I am going to name what was behind those barriers. And when I name it, something inside you is going to snap into recognition, because your spirit has always known this, even when your mind did not have the language to describe it. There have been people in your life who smiled at you while speaking against you in rooms you were not invited to enter. People who celebrated your setbacks with a satisfaction they carefully hid behind words of sympathy. People who stood close enough to see every blessing the Father placed in your hands. And instead of rejoicing, they burned with a resentment they could not explain to themselves. You sensed it. There were moments when something felt wrong in certain relationships, when the warmth that was offered came with an undertone your spirit could detect, but your mind kept dismissing. You told yourself you were being paranoid. You accused yourself of being ungrateful. You pushed the unease aside because the person was family, or a friend of many years, or someone you genuinely wanted to trust. You were not paranoid. Your spirit was alerting you to something your natural eyes were not equipped to see. The enemy does not always attack from obvious directions. His most effective strategy is to position agents of disruption inside the circles where you feel safest. Close enough to observe, close enough to influence, close enough to speak words over you that carry spiritual weight, words that created invisible barriers, words that siphoned energy from your faith and redirected it into doubt. But the Father sees what happens in every room. He hears what is spoken in every whisper. And today, He is exposing the strategy so completely that its power dissolves in the light of the truth. Those words spoken against you are being reversed. The spiritual weight they carried is being stripped away by the same authority that commands the sun to rise and the oceans to stay within their borders. Every curse disguised as a compliment, every prayer spoken with impure motivation, every jealous thought that was projected into the atmosphere around your life, all of it is losing its grip in this very hour. You are not unprotected. You never were. But you needed to see what was operating in the shadows so that when the Father moves to dismantle it completely, you understand why certain things had to shift, why some relationships needed to cool, why some doors needed to close in order for the right doors to open. The departures that hurt you, the endings that felt premature, they were not punishments. They were surgery. The Father was cutting away what was infected before the infection could reach the core. If something is stirring in your spirit right now, a warmth in your chest, a tingle across the back of your neck, a pressure behind your eyes that feels like tears trying to form, do not push it down. Do not analyze it. Do not try to make sense of it with your intellect. What you are feeling is the direct touch of the Holy Spirit confirming every word that has been spoken over you in this message. Let that sensation move wherever it wants to move inside your body. It knows exactly where to go. It is reaching for the places that need it most. The Father showed me something else about you that I must speak into the atmosphere before it passes. There is an area of your life where you have been experiencing a consistent pattern of resistance. Not the ordinary kind of resistance that comes from living in an imperfect world. Specific, targeted, almost strategic resistance that seems to activate every time you get close to a certain kind of breakthrough. It shows up differently depending on the season. Sometimes as an unexpected expense that drains the resource you just accumulated. Sometimes as a conflict that erupts just as peace was finally taking hold. Sometimes as a health concern that appears without warning, right when you need your full strength. Sometimes as an overwhelming wave of discouragement that sweeps through your mind at the exact moment when faith should be at its highest. That pattern is not coincidence. That pattern is orchestrated. And the reason it keeps returning is that there is a root system beneath it that has never been fully addressed. Surface-level prayers addressed the symptoms. Positive declarations trimmed the branches. But the root remained buried deep enough to regenerate, sending new shoots of obstruction into your circumstances every time the old ones were cut down. Today, the root comes out. Not the branches, not the leaves, not the surface symptoms. The root itself. The original access point that was planted. Whether by a word spoken over you in childhood, or by a traumatic event that lodged a lie so deep into your identity that you stopped questioning it, or by a generational pattern that traveled down your family line like an invisible inheritance nobody talked about but everybody suffered under. The Father is looking at you right now with eyes that burn through every disguise, every defense mechanism, every carefully constructed wall you built to protect the most vulnerable parts of your heart. He does not look at those walls with frustration. He looks at them with compassion, because he knows why you built them. He knows exactly which blow taught you to hide, which betrayal taught you to guard, which loss taught you that openness is dangerous. And he wants you to know that in his presence, those walls serve no purpose. Not because he will tear them down by force, but because his love operates inside the walls. It was already there when you built them. It has been there the entire time, holding together the very thing you were trying to protect. And now, Archangel Michael speaks with the authority of one who has stood at the right hand of the Almighty since before the first star was lit. What I am about to name has been hiding in the dark for far too long. The Father told me to tell you exactly what that root has been whispering to you. It whispers, "You will always struggle." It whispers, "Good things happen to other people, but not to you." It whispers, "You're close, but never quite close enough." It whispers, "The door will always close right before you reach it." It whispers in the voice of experience, using your own memories as evidence, replaying your disappointments like a prosecutor presenting exhibits in a courtroom where you are both the accused and the only witness. But that voice is a liar. And today, the Father is overruling every verdict it ever handed down. The case is dismissed. The evidence is inadmissible. The prosecutor has been removed from the courtroom, and the judge of all creation is issuing a decree that permanently seals the record so that the same charges can never be brought against you again. Now I need you to stand in agreement with that decree. Speak these words with every part of your being. Say, "The root is pulled. The pattern is broken. What held me captive has no authority over me any longer. I walk forward today under the full protection and power of the Most High." Let those words move through you like fire through dry wood. Let them burn away every fragment of the lie that took up residence in your identity. You are not who the enemy convinced you that you were. You are who the Father says you are, and He says you are chosen, covered, called, equipped, favored, and about to step into the fullness of everything that was stored in heaven with your name on it. Now listen carefully, because what I am about to declare is the charge that Archangel Michael brings directly from the highest court of heaven. This is not a suggestion. This is not a gentle encouragement wrapped in soft language designed to make you feel temporarily better. This is a command issued from the throne of the Almighty, carried by His chief warrior, and delivered into your ears today. Because the divine calendar says your season of limitation is over, the Father told me to tell you, the statute of limitation on your suffering has expired. Do you understand what that means? It means the legal time frame during which the enemy was permitted to operate within certain boundaries of your life has reached its end. The season of testing is closing. The refining fire that felt like it would never cool is being extinguished. Not because you passed a test, but because the purpose of the season has been fully accomplished. The expansion is done. The vessel is ready. The widening of your capacity that I described earlier has reached the exact dimensions that the Father specified before you were born. And now, something extraordinary is about to unfold. The word that left the throne room, the one that was delayed by barriers that have now been demolished, is arriving at your doorstep with compound interest. Every day that was stolen from you is being returned. Every opportunity that was diverted is being redirected. Every relationship that was sabotaged is being replaced with connections that carry the Father's fingerprints on them. And the timeline of this restoration is not measured in years or even months. It is measured in days. I know that is difficult to receive. Your experience has trained you to expect slow progress and partial answers. But the Father operates outside the limitations of human expectation. When He decides to move, kingdoms shift overnight. Pharaoh woke up one morning as the most powerful ruler on earth, and by nightfall his entire army was swallowed by the sea. The walls of Jericho stood for generations and fell in a single afternoon. Lazarus was sealed in a tomb for 4 days and walked out alive at the sound of a single command. These are not fairy tales. These are precedents. They establish a pattern of how the Almighty operates when the fullness of time has arrived. And, for you, the fullness of time is here. Do not scale down this promise to fit your comfort level. Do not reduce it to something manageable because the full version feels too large to believe. The Father did not send His chief archangel to deliver a modest improvement. He sent me because what is coming requires an escort of the highest rank. The blessing is so heavy that ordinary messengers could not carry it. The breakthrough is so comprehensive that partial language could not describe it. The reversal is so complete that the people who watched you struggle will not recognize the person who emerges on the other side. This is what the Father wants for you. Not survival. Triumph. Not getting by. Overflowing. Not managing your pain. Erasing it from the record entirely and replacing it with a joy so deep and so stable that it becomes the foundation of everything you build from this day forward. But you have a part to play. The Father will not force this into your hands. He will not override your will. He will not drag you across the finish line. You must choose to receive. You must decide to believe that what I am speaking is not wishful thinking, dressed up in spiritual language, but the actual operational reality of the invisible realm. And you must act on that belief. Not someday. Not when the circumstances confirm it. But today. Right now. In the next breath you take. I am about to give you the specific charge that the Father commissioned me to deliver. This is the moment the entire message has been building toward. Every word of comfort was preparation. Every revelation was positioning. Every truth that landed in your spirit was clearing the ground so that this charge could take root in soil that is finally deep enough, clean enough, and wide enough to hold it. Here is your charge. Stand up in your spirit. I do not care if your body is sitting. Your spirit must stand. Rise inside yourself to your full height. Straighten the posture of your inner being. Lift the chin of your soul. Because the Father is about to speak through me with an authority so concentrated that the spiritual atmosphere around your life will be permanently altered from this point forward. Today, you are being released from every form of captivity that has defined your existence up to this moment. The prison of fear, unlocked. The chains of unworthiness shattered. The ceiling of limitation that kept pressing your potential down into a space too small for who you actually are. Demolished. The recurring dream of failure that played on a loop inside your subconscious. Erased from the record and replaced with a vision of what the Father has always seen when He looks at you. You are not who your past says you are. You are not what your circumstances suggest. You are not the version of yourself that was manufactured by pain and maintained by habit. You are a royal heir to the kingdom of the Most High God. You were designed to walk in authority. You were crafted to carry influence. You were built to overflow with resources, not just enough for yourself, but enough to become a source for others. And the season of living beneath your identity is over. The Father has stamped this day with His seal. The Archangel has delivered the charge. The spiritual realm is reorganizing itself around the new coordinates of your life. I want you to understand something about the way the invisible world operates. When the Father issues a decree, it does not travel slowly. It does not negotiate with obstacles. It does not respect the boundaries that the enemy drew in the sand. It moves with the force of absolute authority, the same force that separated light from darkness at the beginning of creation, the same force that parted an entire sea so that a nation of barefoot slaves could walk through on dry ground, the same force that rolled a boulder away from a tomb and brought death itself to its knees. That force is aimed at your life right now, not scattered across a crowd, not diluted by distribution, concentrated, focused, directed at the specific coordinates of your existence with surgical precision. Every barrier has been identified. Every obstacle has been mapped. Every point of resistance has been cataloged. And the decree that carries the full weight of divine authority is being executed in the spiritual realm at this very moment. The changes will begin to manifest in ways that your natural mind may not immediately recognize. You might notice it first as a subtle shift in the way people respond to you. Words of favor that seem to come from nowhere. Doors that open without you knocking. Conversations that lead to opportunities you did not pursue. Resources that appear from directions you never expected. These are not coincidences. They are coordinates, evidence that the invisible rearrangement is producing visible results. And as the days unfold, the evidence will become impossible to ignore. Even for the most cautious part of your mind, the people who doubted you will see it. The voices that spoke against you will fall silent. The forces that fought to keep you small will retreat to distances from which they can no longer reach you. And you, beloved child of the Most High, will stand in the full light of your divine inheritance and wonder how you ever believed the lie that this day would never come. This is not a metaphor. This is the operational reality of what is being set in motion by the words I am speaking into your spirit right now. Every syllable carries the weight of heaven. Every sentence restructures something in the invisible realm. And, by the time this message reaches its final words, the landscape of your spiritual reality will have been so thoroughly transformed that the old version of your life will feel like a story someone else lived. The Father told me to tell you one more thing before I deliver the final decree. He said, I was never far away, even in the moments when the silence was loudest. I was working, or even when the answers seemed absent. I was building. The delay was not distance, it was construction. And what I was constructing is now finished. The building is complete. The door is about to open, and what lies on the other side is worth every second of the wait. Now, receive the final decree of the Most High God, carried from the throne room by Archangel Michael, sealed with the authority that governs every realm visible and invisible, and spoken into the atmosphere of your life today, on this day that was marked on the eternal calendar since before time began. You are restored. Everything that was taken is being returned with interest that compounds across every domain of your existence. Your health, restored. Your peace of mind, restored. Your sense of purpose, restored. Your capacity for joy, restored. Your spiritual authority is restored to its original design and amplified to a level you have never operated in before. The season of depletion is finished. The age of rebuilding is here, and the decree that seals it cannot be appealed, cannot be overturned, and cannot be delayed by any power in any realm for any reason. I, Archangel Michael, declare this over you with the full backing of the Father. Your name is written in the book of those whose restoration is now, not pending, not conditional, not subject to further review. Now, the court has ruled, the gavel has fallen, and the verdict is irrevocable. Let everything that was spoken settle into the deepest chambers of your heart. Today, you heard the voice of the Father carried by his chief messenger. You learned that you were never abandoned, that the silence was construction, that the delay was expansion, and that the forces that fought against you have been stripped of their authority. The decree of full restoration has been issued. It carries the seal of the Almighty, and nothing in this world or any other can stand against it. May the peace of the living God flood every corner of your existence from this moment forward. May his light expose and dissolve every remaining shadow. May his strength replace every exhaustion. May his clarity cut through every confusion. And may the warmth you feel right now stay with you through every waking hour and guard you through every night. If this message moved something deep inside you, do not keep this to yourself. Think of 2 people in your life who need to hear these words today. Someone in your Facebook group who's been fighting in silence, a family member you have not texted in a while. Send this message to them right now. Be the bridge that carries the healing to someone who has been waiting for it without knowing what they were waiting for. Beloved, the family behind this message continues to grow because of hearts like yours. When you visit the link in the description or the pinned comment and support this mission, whether through a donation or by joining as a member of the community, you are planting a seed in soil that the Father himself tends. Every contribution keeps these messages reaching the people who need them most. Every member who joins the daily prayer circle strengthens the altar that heaven responds to. Your presence matters. Your seed matters. Step into the circle and watch the Father move. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, this is your moment. Press the subscribe button and turn on all notifications so that every time heaven sends a new dispatch, you are the first to receive it. This is not about a number. This is about a lifeline that was built for your journey. Stay connected. Stay covered. Stay in the path of the blessing. And now, the closing prayer. Father, I bring this precious child before your throne. You know their name. You know their wound. You know the weight they carried into this moment and the lightness they are beginning to feel as your word takes root. I ask you to seal everything that was spoken. Let no force undo what you have declared. Let no doubt erode what you have established. Guard this heart with warrior angels stationed at every entrance. Let the restoration that was decreed become visible in their circumstances, in their health, in their relationships, in their peace, and in their purpose. Cover them with the blood of the covenant. Surround them with your fire. And walk with them step by step into the fullness of everything you stored in heaven with their name on it. In the mighty and matchless name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen and amen.